Welcome to another AUG blog audio post located at augforums.com. That's augforums.com. You can find this specific audio post at augforums.com/audio post 6. That's audio post and the number 6. This is your host, Tim Rodman, coming to you live on Sunday, January 26th from Las Vegas, Nevada, where we are at Acumatica Summit 2020. And in this audio post, I've got Bob McAdam here. Bob, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, Tim. Thanks for having me.
So Bob is a podcast veteran, so I'm a little intimidated here. But he does know our two rules here. One of them is no editing.
Yep.
So Bob, just be aware of that. It's
well
all
prepared.
or nothing. And then he knows the other rule, which is publish immediately. Now, he's our first interviewee on an AUG blog audio post. So there is a little kind of secret rule, and
Okay.
that is with an interviewee, after we're done recording, you can decide if I'm going to publish or not. I won't.
Okay.
I won't just publish it, without your blessing.
I have much confidence. We'll be fine.
So I wanted to talk to you, Bob, about your experience with, can I call it Great Plains?
Sure,
Does that
you can.
resonate more?
Yeah, that name sticks. That name will stick forever.
That does. It
I'm
kind of
convinced, yeah.
plucks the heartstrings.
It really does,
A little
yeah.
better.
Mhm.
So I'll call it that. We'll call it your experience with Great Plains and community in general.
Okay.
Kind of very appropriate. We just wrapped up here with the first user group meet and greet event.
Right.
Here at the summit. Good attendance.
Well attended, yep.
I heard over 200
Nice crowd.
people.
Yep.
And, in the beginnings of user groups and community in general, from a user perspective. And so I'm just curious to get some of your thoughts on, first of all, maybe we start with, how did things start for you personally, getting involved with Great Plains user groups?
Okay. Well, you got to go back to the beginning of Dynamic Communities, which is where I work now. Dynamic Communities is a company headquartered in Tampa, founded by a guy named Andy Hafer. Andy worked for a company in Tampa. He was a CIO, and they purchased Exapta before it was called Dynamics AX. And he was an SAP guy, so he went looking for an Exapta user group so that he could garner knowledge about his new purchase, and he didn't find anything. So he went to Microsoft and said, gee, you don't have a user group, and this product is relatively new to Microsoft. They had just purchased it from DamGuard maybe 18 years ago. And he kind of got Microsoft to find other CIOs in his position who were struggling with Exapta rollouts to get together and collaborate with one another so they could all get smarter on this relatively new acquisition for Microsoft. So they did. They created Exapta User Group Inc., and they just basically set it up out of necessity. They held events, they collaborated online, they had sponsors, and after a couple of years of this, things started to really percolate.
What year are we talking about?
We're
when that
talking
starts?
2004.
Okay, not that long ago. Okay.
So a couple of years, 2006 goes by, and Exapta User Group is starting to resonate with Dynamics AX customers.
Okay.
So Microsoft comes to Andy and said, would you do something like this with Dynamics GP, which is Great Plains? And he's like, sure. In North America, Great Plains has probably 35,000 customers. So
And what's his motivation, you think, to do this, given that his company has nothing to do with Great Plains?
Andy's very mission-oriented. Like, part of the reason he wanted to do this was to help himself, but he's interested in building a community around Exapta because everyone's going to benefit in the end.
Okay.
He wants to find success with Exapta and his deployment, and he wants other people to as well.
Okay.
So they come to him about Great Plains, and he knows about GP, so he says, okay, I'll do that. And in March of 2007, I'm at Convergence, the old Microsoft show for Dynamics customers, and he's up there at the front rolling out a Great Plains user group. And I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that Andy knew about Dynamics. I knew Andy because I live in Tampa, and he was part of the Tampa Bay Technology Forum like I was, and we talked about doing a GP support group, but I always figured it would be local. I didn't realize that he was going to open up something worldwide. So he did in 2007. The following year, at Microsoft's request, he opened up CRM UG for Dynamics CRM. And then later in 2008, we got together with the folks who run the Dynamics NAV user group, who were willing to give up leadership of that group as long as we told them we would grow it, which we have.
So that was the only one that was kind of established already.
That's right.
So
Exapta was done
AX,
organically,
Great
literally out of
Plains,
necessity.
and CRM was all kind of done from scratch, and then Navision joined the
Division,
party.
yeah,
so
they
to
had
speak.
their own group already,
Okay.
and there's not that many NAV customers in North America compared to say
Right.
Europe, right? But they had their own group, and they wanted to grow
What about
it.
SL? Was that
The SL
that take a
people,
little
yeah,
while longer?
they're a little more stubborn, but they are loyal, and I think that's really what it comes down to. Look at the SLUG, which is D-Slug. It's not. They don't call themselves SLUG. Bad acronym. I like it, but they don't like it.
It describes the product well.
That's right. They like their product, and the Great Plains users like their product, and I feel like the Acumatica users like their product. And if
Yeah.
you can get your arms around that in a user group fashion and find the pride and the fun and the enjoyment, not to mention the functionality and the help that it gives to running a business, if you can get your arms around all that, you can create a user group that builds momentum just because the people in it want to find success. They bought this product, they're trained in it. People like you have done end user testing and user acceptance and all that stuff, supported it. This is where we're investing our time and money because we're logged in 5 days a week, sometimes 6, sometimes more, and we're going to make this thing work. And after a while, it becomes a part of the business. And if you can get your arms around that and say, we're going to build on this pride and this level of functionality that we enjoy learning about and garnering information from, that's where I really think a user group can take flight. The Dynamics SL people are a perfect example. Their numbers are dwindling, but the people that are left there, they love it. They don't want it to go anywhere. They're going to keep going. They're going to fight till the end. And I find that in the Dynamics GP space as well. There's a little bit of pride in an ERP system. And if you can encapsulate all of that, you can find success.
That's a good word. So pride. Pride is
Yeah.
what you're tapping into
Yeah.
for a user group.
Right. And you
Interesting.
know that there are users out there. You have customers that love the products that you're developing for them, and deploying for them.
Yeah.
And you want to get them together with other users who enjoy using these systems and make something out of that and just build momentum off of that alone.
So then when you call something a user group,
Right.
what does that mean? So I guess my first question is, how much of that identity is in person versus online? From your experience. And I guess I would also, as part of that, it sounds like you connected a lot with Andy because you both happen to be in Tampa.
Yeah,
And
right.
when you're rolling out these,
And we
maybe not
belong to a
rolls out,
community in the Tampa Bay area for
already
technology.
an in-person
Right.
community
We
that
already
you're
knew
part
each other
of.
personally, right.
So then when you're launching, if I can use that word,
Right.
let's stay on Great Plains part of it. Do you launch just in Tampa, or do you launch, like, how do you get off the ground, and how do you have an identity, and how much of it is online versus in person?
Okay. I think the online stuff helps. Certainly you can collaborate online with the right message boards, et cetera. But I really think the in-person events like the one we're at this week or the ones that you've been to before, that's where people really meet. Okay, so to me, the in-person stuff is great. Tampa's where GPUG started. That's where the company's headquarters is. But we all kicked this off in San Diego at Microsoft Convergence in 2007. And we told people, hey,
okay.
if you want to start a chapter in Kansas City, in San Francisco, in Dallas, in Buffalo, then do it. We'll support you to the best of our ability. We were small then. Start with a local user group.
And we means officially like a nonprofit,
The members.
or just a group of people?
Yeah, just a group of people who want to maybe
Okay.
make a contribution to a user group because
Okay.
they want a level of professional development. They have some skin in the game as far as their ERP is concerned, and they want to find success and network with others who are in their industry, their location, their role, et cetera.
Okay.
So things like that. You get these commonalities together and get people together to talk about things, and you can blossom pretty quickly.
And when you get together, what does that look like? Is it a 2-hour event? Is it a 4-hour event? What have you found as far as, and then what do you do? Is there food involved? Is there presentations?
Yeah.
How does that work?
For a local user group, it's generally 4 hours once a quarter.
Once a quarter, okay.
The local user group leaders have autonomy over the topics and how long the meeting is. So
Okay.
if they want to meet 4 hours twice a year, or 3 hours every quarter, that's fine. It's up to them. We have done catering at local user group meetings for years. It's a loss leader, but it gives someone who is local on an application to come to a meeting and find out if they're going to get anything out of it. And then the topics have to be educational, unless an ISV comes in and agrees to sponsor, and they can pay for time in front of the users to show off their wares. But this is not about partners poaching others. This is not about ISVs or partners taking over meetings. Local users run the meetings, and that's that. Partners and ISVs are important members in user groups. It's not just end users, they're included too. But at the end of the day, the local users have to run it, has to be educational. It's not a sales job. Anybody can do that. Partners can do that all day long. You want to bring people to a meeting where they learn something and take something back to their colleagues that will be beneficial in running their business.
And that's interesting that what really started the Dynamics communities was a customer.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a VAR.
It was not
or an
Microsoft,
ISV.
and that's right. That's right.
Although he did go to Microsoft, and they might have helped out.
They helped him
monetarily or
collaborate with
something.
other CIOs who
Give
had
them
the same
email
problems.
addresses of
Yeah,
who
and they all
were.
met and they all became friends, and eventually just kind of handed it to Andy and said, "Here, you do this. We're busy."
Okay.
And so he started keeping track of all this stuff on a spreadsheet, and then it turned into events and sponsorships and catering, and next thing you know, you have an event community, and you've got to help manage it.
Which you're now very much a part of that kind of thing,
Yeah,
right?
I've been there for 7 years, but I have been involved with Andy since he launched GPUG. I worked for a Dynamics GP partner for many years, and that's where I met him at the time, and I became a partner advocate, so I could contribute with education content, and I always tell my partner friends, you've got a slide deck. The first slide has your name and the company you work at, and so does the last one. And everything in the middle is educational. And if you start selling your business on slide 7, I'm going to say, forget it. Don't bother.
That's good advice. I like
Yeah.
that. It's
Be
kind of a
consistent.
sandwich. You got a little sale at the beginning and
That's
at
right.
the end, but the meat of it is education.
It's got to be education.
Okay,
People want
I
to,
like that.
and if somebody walks away from a session having learned something about, say, inventory or manufacturing or whatever the problem is they're having reporting, and they learned it from you, and you're up there in your shirt talking about it, with your gear on, then they'll remember that and they'll ask you questions. Hey, how can you help me? You'll sell yourself without being a sales resource on stage.
I like that.
It's that simple.
Very cool.
And that's what Acumatica can do. You're a partner. You can educate people on a product without saying, hey, I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. You should come work with me. Your presence up front with the knowledge you'll convey will sell it on its own.
And then when you think about nationally, so let's say you've got 50 user groups across the country in
Right.
the United States, how do it then, again, from your experience, how did that organically turn into, which I think it did, a user group event? Did it just kind of organically happen, or how did that happen for you guys in the Microsoft space?
The Dynamics AX folks did a summit on their own 2 or 3 times, and GPUG did one on its own the first time. And then in 2008, we decided to bring them all together because a lot of the ISVs cross-platform anyway. And they would rather have consolidated events where they can talk to all the Dynamics customers, not have to go,
And
say,
they're paying
every
a
other
lot
month.
of the bill, right?
Sure they
They're
are.
the ones who make it happen. Yeah.
Sponsorship revenue is an important
Yeah.
part of success.
Absolutely.
No question about
Absolutely.
it. So we consolidated in 2008 and at a Green Valley Ranch in Henderson, just near here.
Oh, okay.
That's where the first
Oh, really?
user group summit for all the Dynamics products was held.
Very interesting.
And we staggered them back then. AX and NAV went first, and GP and CRM went next.
So here we are in Las Vegas having
Right.
the first Acumatica user group event.
Right.
And just a stone's throw away from Henderson, we
Yep.
had the first. Oh, very
Las
interesting.
Vegas, yeah. I
Okay.
tell you, there's
Maybe there's something to
something
it.
in the water here. I don't know.
People are willing to take a risk.
Sure.
They're willing to gamble.
Right,
on a
they're willing
user
to
group.
roll the dice, if you will, on success across ERP applications and community. Sure.
Awesome. Well, Bob, I know we got the welcome reception coming up here.
Yes.
Any other last thoughts on community in general that you'd like to maybe impart to us newer Acumatica people who are a little greener in this journey than you are?
Well, what I would say is if you want this to happen, and there's plenty of you here that do, keep going, keep plodding forward. Remember, the end users got to come first. The partners and the ISVs have to take a secondary role. I mean, I always say, look, partners and ISVs are part of user groups, and they're important parts. But the end user's got to be on the top rung of the ladder. educate your end users, get your community smarter, and all the other success will come with it. But you got to be patient, and you got to be consistent, and you got to enforce rules on yourselves so that it works. And once you do all those
Delivering things when
Yeah.
you say they're going to be done.
that's right.
Actually showing up to the meeting, that kind of
And
stuff.
deliver a good event where people go home smarter, right? They're spending all this money. They got to buy a ticket to the event. They got to fly here. They got to stay in expensive hotels, right? The Cosmopolitan is a wonderful hotel. It's not cheap. And they're going to have to go home to their boss and say, at Acumatica Summit 2020, I learned X, Y, and Z. And here's how we're going to change this process and that report to run our business better.
That's a good point.
And then
That's how they come back next
And
year.
then the boss says, okay,
makes sense.
let's go next year, and I'll go with you so that I can talk to other C-level folks and get smarter
I
on the
see.
things that I need to get smarter on. And then the community builds on itself because you need one another
I see.
in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, you're especially on implementation side and
Right.
how you solve real world problems with the software. It's a
Yeah.
combination of technique on the soft skill side of things and
Right.
politically navigating through your organization to get things done, but then also technically how you do it on the specific platform. And
That's
that's
right.
the kind of stuff you're figuring out with user groups, I assume, part of it, right?
Yeah, someone on one side of the room may have solved a problem that someone on the other side has been pulling their hair out for weeks, can't get over that hurdle. You get them together, problems are solved on both ends. Okay, there's an accomplishment.
I love it.
Build from there.
Excellent.
It's not rocket science, but it is effective, and it's fun to get together with people who have like-minded interest around ERP, regardless of industry.
So plot along. Keep
Plod
moving.
along, be patient, be
Be
consistent.
patient and be
Yeah,
consistent.
don't break the rules, stick to rules. Everybody respects the integrity of the user group when the rules are followed and enforced. That's one of the hardest parts of my job is telling my friends, hey, you're breaking the rules. I know they're trying to
Do you
earn
have
a
an
living.
example of a rule that might be broken?
Yeah, okay.
Without divulging?
Yeah,
the-
without divulging any names or company names. I've gone, at an event at GPUG Summit, I check on all the rooms. How are the speakers doing? And sometimes the speakers are up there and they've got an ISV helping out, and that ISV can help him or herself by showing a screen in their product at an educational session.
okay.
Wrong.
Red flag.
Can't do that.
So that your rule about the first slide and the last slide is like a hard rule, not
It
just
is,
a
right.
recommendation. Okay.
If you're an ISV and you want to show off your wares, we have partner solution showcase opportunities
okay.
available for sale. And when you buy that hour, it is your hour. You can do whatever you want.
So you're the teeth of
Yeah,
the
I have
user
to wear.
group.
I have my
Okay.
Switzerland shirt that I wear, my referee shirt, right? Because and these are my friends. I've worked with these people. I've been in the Great Plains space for this is my 23rd year, and these are my friends, and they want to earn a living, and it's challenging because Microsoft has other plans around SaaS and all that, and it's challenging. But you got to look, inspect the integrity of the user group. We all know it's for the benefit of everybody, so don't break the rules.
That's great advice.
It's simple.
Great advice.
It's hard to enforce, but someone's got to do it. So I guess it's me.
Well, Bob, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. We going to publish this right now?
Yeah, so if you're okay, we're
I'm
good.
ready.
I
We're
got
good.
a
No
little
editing?
blurb I say at the end here that I'm going to read off of my phone. So by the way, this being the first interview, how do you like our setup here?
Excellent.
Yeah.
This is perfect. A nice quiet room.
This
We
is
can
a
have a
mic
chat.
plugged into a phone.
Yeah.
And that's what you got here.
You're
for
the
an
epitome of
AUG.
efficiency.
So here's my little outro. Thanks again, Bob.
You're
And
welcome. Thank you.
I'll wrap it up with this. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next AUG blog audio post. Take care.